Hi, this is Paul Carlson, CPA with AE Velocity. In this video, we're looking at the connection, if there is any, between Ajera budgeting rates and Ajera billing/spent rates. So what I've done is I've created a project we can beat up on in a sample database, and you can set rates, budget rates, in 3 areas within Ajera. So the first is under Company Preferences Project, and we can set that a budget rate of $100. So where this works is if Ajera can't find a billing rate anywhere else when building out a project budget, it's going to use $100 an hour. Second place we can put in rates is if Ajera will look up billing rates based on employee types. So we have the employee type list, and then here we have a billing budgeting rate for principals of $210 an hour, and for engineers we have it set at 110. So just follow the pattern. 100 is default, 110 or 210 is employee rates, and then Ajera will also use rates from the billing rate tables when it can. So here we have a billing rate table where we have set principal at 220 and we have engineer at 120, and then we also use a rate table of standard markups to break something in a later example. So in this, notice that there is no rates per employee type, but we have a cost plus fixed fee build up percentages within the rate table. So let's jump over to the project and see what we can figure out. So created 4 phases. We'll look from the Manage tab so we can see the full phase name. So first phase has no resource rows. So we're going to put 2 hours. We're going to put 1 hour principal and 1 hour of engineer on each of these different phases. So when there's no resource rows, you type in, you say, well, there's going to be 2 hours, 1 hour engineer, 1 hour principal. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But because you don't specify exactly what employee type this is going to be, the Ajera has no other option but to go grab that $100 per hour rate from the company preferences, and we get a contract amount of $200. Second phase is we have this set up and we only have 1 labor resource row. We don't split out the resource rows by principal engineer. So same as the first phase, we put in our 2 hours. At least here we get to see the billing rate, and it's showing that it's going to come up at $200 an hour. And so again, it's not very smart. It's not splitting out by employee type. So when you do resource rows the way Ajera wants you to, is we have 1 resource row for principal for an hour and 1 resource row for engineer for an hour. Then Ajera goes and pulls the billing rates from the billing rate table and gives us correct numbers for the contract table. And then for the 4th phase is we have a phase that this is pointing to that rate table with the cost plus fixed fee numbers in it. So there's no rates per employee type. So what Ajera does is when we specify principal, it goes to the rate table first, can't find anything there. Then it goes to the employee type table, and here it picks up the 210. And for the engineer, it also goes and picks up the 110. This is probably a real edge case because typically we're going to be connecting projects to rate tables where every employee type is already specified. So I'm not sure where this process of setting rates on the employee type would be very helpful. That either we're going to have a rate table by employee type and it's going to pull up from the rate table, or we're not going to specify anyone and we really have no choice but to go back and pull out that single rate for any employee type from the Project Command Center. So what this does is this is built using rates to build up the company contract. So you would think that when time is charged into these projects, that the spent numbers would mirror this same process. Well, let's jump over to the snapshot and see what we have going here. So here we have the snapshot, and so the no resource row, that this is principal time, that because this project has a billing rate table with a specific rate for principal, that it went ahead and grabbed the rate table, the principal rate off the rate table, and used that for spent. So it completely ignored the budget rate. Let's go back one labor row, didn't put in an hour here. So here's that phase 4 where we use the funny rate table with no employee types. And here we get 233 spent. So what this has done is the way that the cost plus fixed fee buildup on that phase has worked is it calculates out that the spent or the billing amount for that hour is 233. So again, the budget table had this set up that this was going to bill at 210 an hour, but it ignored the budget and it grabbed a number from the rate table and used that as the spent number. And then down here where we have properly resourced that the spent or billed number, the spent number matches the rate table, which also matches the budget. So kind of interesting that the budgeting process is completely separate from the spent calculation and the snapshot. And I'm sure if we called Deltek and said, this is pretty wacky, what are you doing? They would say you should not be doing this, this, or this, that you should be setting up all projects with proper billing rate tables and proper resource rows and the system works, that these other things are just using the system incorrectly. And with that, we've talked about the comparison of where these different rates come from on the manage or budgeting portion of the project and where the rates come from on the snapshot. Thanks much. Bye-bye.